You're watching the morning show here on the Rise News, and we still have with us in our Abuja studios Bukola Idowu, a project coordinator on Nigeria Election Violence Report for Bayelsa. He's also the executive director of Impact Development Initiative, an NGO working for good governance, policy advocacy and elections, as well as youth development. Thank you so much, Mr. Idowu, for staying with us. I have two quick questions for you. One, from your observations so far, campaigns have been flagged off in Bayelsa State. What are we likely to see dominate those campaigns? What sorts of conversations should the political class be having, and should the people be demanding? Secondly, the last gubernatorial election in the state was a two-horse race between the incumbent governor, who is now outgoing, and the former governor of the state, Timmy Silva. A lot of people said that is why the stakes were high, and that's why we recorded the level of violence we had at that elections. With those who have emerged as candidates for these two leading political parties in this election, do you think that the stakes are lowered? And does that, implicate, or does that replicate the kind of violence or rhetoric that will be seen this time around?
Okay, I'm going to take it from the last question, and that is the issue around violence. Now, our survey shows that, look, out of the 8 local governments, and we pushed that out to the stakeholders, to the policy makers and things to look into that. And what I'm trying to say is that there is an hotspot mapping conducted that shows the volatility of some of these local governments, and at the same time, that also show that local government that are likely to be a theater of violence in this coming election. Now, 4 stood out that we call the Big Four, and that is Ekerebo, the Southern Ijaw, the Brass, and Nembe. And there are reasons for this. Then there are also 3 local governments that look, of course, that was not painted red, but they are not painted green too, but they are just amber, which means the likelihood of violence can swing to any, it can be peaceful and it can be violent, and that is Jenogwa and Ogbia, and then Sabama. But it's only, the survey shows that it's only Kolokuma that is likely going to be peaceful in this coming election. And what are the reasons for most of this? If you look at the Big Four we talked about, that we said are likely going to be violent, and that the stakeholders should need to begin to look into, most especially the security agencies, need to begin to look into and do appropriate deployment in those places, like Ekeremo, Southern Ijaw, Brass, and Nembe, because of the landmass, because of the voting population of that particular area, and then because of the topography of that particular place. Is always, some of them are riverine areas. So it's always difficult to have more security agencies coming to that particular place, except for the Navy, and that is where you deploy the gunboats and a whole lot of things. And again, you find out that people migrate from Yenogwa and go to most of these places to go and vote. They also have bigger voting population. Over the years, these 4 local governments has been determining whoever sits in the government house in Bayelsa. So more attention is also going to be given to these local governments from some of these political parties. So if they can clinch some of these places, it shows that, look, they are going to, they're likely going to win. And coupled with the history of violence that has been consistent with these 4 local governments. So you now come to, of course, Kolokuma, that we painted red, that they have nothing to lose. They are not producing any candidates that is running in this election among the top contestants. So they are likely, and when you look at around it too, you find out that it can swing into 2 major areas. So one thing we are asking is that this election in Bayelsa, it was not like the other election that saw the present governor knocking on with the Timmy Silva. No, so it is a different thing. But this particular election is an election of ego. It's an election of stamping authority. It's an election that some people want to take over, and it's also an election that some people want to say, look, we are on ground. So whether you like it or not, both parties have things to lose, and that is why we need to deploy appropriate responses in some of these places. Then coming to your first question, we talked about the kind of campaign we expect to see. We expect to see campaign that is based on, that is issue-driven. Now, we expect to see campaign that is issue-driven, not personality-driven, not personality attack. And that is why, whether we like it or not, one of the key factors we need to look into in this coming election in Bayelsa is the issue of hate speeches. And that is key. It is ongoing now, and we've been seeing flashes of it. And so one of the things we need to begin to look into is that, look, there need to be a high stakeholder meeting with the security agency. The security agency should take the lead and convey a high stakeholder meeting, dialogue session, where they need to be warned the grave consequence of hate speeches in this election. People need, the contestants need to focus on the issue. What are they going to do in terms of education? What are they going to do in terms of IGR? What are they going to do in terms of security and things like that? Power and construction and a whole lot of things. Not personality attack, not hate speeches. Oh, and that is what we need to begin to, we are expecting in most of these, as the campaign progresses.
I'm excited to talk about those 4 local governments. When you check historical antecedents of Bayelsa elections, those 4 local governments have been the cesspit for rigging, because it's always on this local government area, like you said rightly. Police officers are not always there. Election manipulation goes on there. I mean, what would you suggest should be done to ensure the authenticity of results from those 4 local government areas? Because those are the rigging points, and those are the key points in every Bayelsa election.
Yes, you are right. And I give you, you see, when we are conducting this survey and then we have like stakeholders coming together and then we are doing like a desk review to also do one-on-one interview and see. You see, one of the things that stood out there was because of that terrain. You know, most people find it difficult, even observers find it difficult to go there because of the terrain of these places. And so that has been the theater and the platform for rigging an election. But if that as it may, we don't need to begin to react. We need to be proactive. So INEC need to be proactive, NOA need to be proactive, and then the security agencies need to be proactive. We are not expecting deployment that will start on Thursday to the election on Saturday. We are expecting deployment that will take place probably a week to that election, so that most of the things that need to put in place are put in place. In fact, one of the things that normally happen is that anything on Thursday, Friday to Saturday election, you are not likely going to get, for instance, boats to move into most of these places. At times, coppers and the observer are at the mercy of political party who on their own also have custody of some of these boats.
Sorry to just cut you. Can you ensure the security of, take for instance, sensitive materials being moved in a week before? Can you ensure the security of those materials if sensitive materials are moved in a week before? Because that's why they normally move it in 2-3 days to the elections.
No, I am not saying the sensitive materials. Okay. Of course, INEC have what we call rack. You know, so, but we are talking about security agencies. We are talking about we are talking about the coppers. Because one of the things, if you are deploying security agencies on the day of election, that, okay, police should move to that place. Now, if you are saying the coppers, that is, or the ad hoc officials that will be working with INEC should be moving on the day of the election because of the topography, it's going to be difficult. So what are we doing to have them there early enough so that security agency can move sensitive material to them on that particular day? But to want to move sensitive, to want to deploy the people, you are going to have issues. And that is in terms of intelligence gathering too. People are already planning how they are going to rig, as people are planning how they are going to win. So 2 people are planning, whether you like in every election. Some people are planning to rig, some people are planning to win. So what it means is that then we need to be proactive in what we need to do and that's why I say proactiveness, not that we want to react. So that rigging and vote buying is going on in a place, and that is why we are rushing to the place. But how are we going to nip that on the board before it even happens? And that is not going to happen a day to the election. It's supposed to happen days, weeks before the election. So I am actually talking about deployment of the security agency and deployment and intensity at which voter education needs need to go both from the civil society, NOA, and INEC before the election.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We keep our eyes definitely fixed on Bayelsa and Kogi elections, November 16th. Thank you again, Mr. Idowu, for coming on the morning show on Arise News. Well, that brings us to the end of the show today. I am Adesoa Omoruan.
I'm Rafai Hosseini.
And I'm Sheiton Atigari. Thank you for watching. From my entire team here in Lagos, enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.